Welcome, friends,
to the How-To Heretic.
I'm Uncle Mark.
And I'm Uncle Dan.
And I'm Uncle Doug.
And this is your user's guide to life on the outside.
There it is. Leaving religion is the first step into a larger, better world.
But it can also be a scary world. Things work differently now.
Never fear. That's why we're here.
The we are your audio uncles. And with help from good friends and experts in all sorts of fields,
we're going to share the stories and seek the knowledge to build a great life.
After all, you only get one that we know of, so you'd better make the most of
it. Gentlemen,
hello.
Here we are again this week on a very special How-To Heretic.
It is very special.
Yeah, Dan, you got something hot off the presses.
Well, you know, it felt,
something current, something now.
It felt apropos,
to
discuss a saint this week.
Yeah, of a whole nation.
Yes, a patron saint indeed. So we'll do that, and then you've brought a friend.
We have a very special interview actually with our friend Marsh, Michael Marshall from the Merseyside Skeptics and the Good Thinking Society, and he's going to
the Be Reasonable podcast.
And the Be Reasonable podcast, and he's going to talk us off that ledge.
He's going to be reasonable at us.
He's going to be very reasonable at us, despite every effort to knock him off his game. So please stick around and listen to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes,
and let's proceed. Well, Uncle Doug,
ahoy!
Are you feeling lucky?
A little bit.
I think we could, skip a lot of the banter and just go into a lot of racial slurs, if that's a lot of horrible, horrible things about our Irish friends.
Sounds brilliant.
Okay.
But on this day of days, we won't do that.
We are literally recording this on a certain day.
Well, unfortunately, fellas, I'm a little late on this one.
Oh, okay.
Because by the time our listeners hear this, the feast day of Ireland's patron saint will have passed. Nevertheless, it's a fascinating story, and I wanted to tell it. So pour yourself a beer, don the color of spring, and prepare to celebrate St. Bridget's Day. Ha! I got you good, motherfuckers! Suck it!
Sons of bitch, what?
Yeah, so it turns out...
and Bagora.
It turns out that Ireland has 3 patron saints.
Well, poor Ireland needs them.
Or 4, depending on who you ask, but I say St. Brendan can go screw.
Well, that's what they've been fighting over all this time,
right?
Whether it's 3 or 4.
That's right. That was the whole IRA,
the schism,
yeah, exactly.
The troubles.
So anyway, St. Patrick is of course their most important saint, but following very close behind, probably because she's a woman, is St. Bridget. The two were contemporaries with lots of stories on how they worked together and interacted.
To co-saint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. In fact, Bridget is said to have converted to Christianity because she was so inspired by Patrick's teachings.
How about that?
Yeah. The third saint, incidentally, was St. Columba, who I think I mentioned briefly in episode 60 as a dude who hung out with St. Oran.
Who we buried under his church in Iona.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Side note, about 60% of the Christians in Ireland in the 5th and 6th centuries are now saints. It's ridiculous. Everyone I read about that wasn't a total dick turns out to be Saint so-and-so.
And some of those were probably pretty dickish as well.
Yeah, indeed. But yeah, like if you made a good person's bed that day, you're a saint.
Right.
It literally everyone that I encountered as I was reading all of this was like, it's Saint this, and then the person who poured their wine was Saint so-and-so.
It's like low-budget movies hand out producer credits.
Right.
In lieu of pay.
Right, yes.
So there's 25 producers on a $2 million movie. It's the same thing.
They sainted the fuck out of that place. Anyway, so here's the thing about St. Bridget. There's a very strong set of coincidences surrounding her life. And frankly, fellas, I'm not sure what to make of them.
All right.
Maybe you guys can help me figure it out, because it's not totally obvious at all what's going on. The crux of the coincidences is this. Saint Bridget has the same name as the ancient Celtic god Bridget.
Huh.
Isn't that weird?
I mean, weird with so many names out there.
I mean, it's not an uncommon name, so I guess it's not that weird, but there's more.
Yeah.
I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist or whatever, but St. Bridget died, and therefore her saint day is celebrated on February 1st, which super coincidentally happens to be the same day as Imbolc, a Gaelic pagan festival associated with the goddess Bridget.
You're freaking me out.
Very strangely,
Freaking me
Catholic Irish folk have long celebrated St. Bridget's Day by doing the same things that people used to do to celebrate Imbolc. Weird, right?
Yeah, this is freaking me out.
I mean, they added some stuff too, but it just strikes me as so unique and strange and unheard of
Yeah.
that the church would seem to co-opt an existing festival and change the meaning of it to suit their purposes.
Yeah, I don't. That doesn't hold
never heard
water.
of such a
This,
thing.
yeah, this doesn't
It doesn't hold water.
It doesn't feel right.
No.
It doesn't feel right. Anyway, another weird coincidence was that Kildare, which is the church that St. Bridget had built, had a perpetual flame. The sacred flame that was reportedly tended to night and day by 19 nuns under her authority, just like the perpetual flame that was kept burning by a group of women in honor of Bridget, the goddess, in exactly the same spot before the church took over, which is so odd, really, because the whole eternal fire being tended to by priestesses thing was a super common theme in pre-Christian religions, but wasn't really a thing in Christianity.
Yeah, I think the Irish paganism should have spent some more time working on copyright law.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like
Yeah.
maybe they could have.
They could have been remunerated at least.
All paganism probably
Yeah,
could have
exactly.
done well with that, or any kind of pre-Christian traditions. There are more parallels. Both Bridgets being associated with sacred wells, but whatever, coincidence.
Total coincidence.
So, who is this Saint Bridget? Well, to some extent, that depends entirely on which non-fictional, completely true hagiography you read.
Sure.
The earliest of them was written at least 100 years after her definitely happened death, but I'm sure they're all pretty accurate. Bridget was almost certainly actually born in the year for... Do you get the point here? I don't believe this person ever existed. That's what I'm getting to. But yes, she was born in or around the year 451 in a town that's spelled Faughat, which I am going to pronounce fart, in Northern Ireland. Born to Christian Pict slaves, a Christian Pict slave named Broca, who incidentally had been baptized by St. Patrick himself, which makes the story even better, doesn't it?
Sure
And
does.
of course, entirely not made up.
Is that like Tom Broca?
Ew. Her father
So
was,
current.
right?
The kids are going to love that.
Right. Some of us still remember him. He's got a presence on Facebook. Anyway, her father was said to be the local chieftain Dubstep? Dubthach. Who owned her mom, apparently.
Cool.
And he sold Broca to a local druid when he found out she was pregnant.
Okay.
Which is awesome, because then that's 2 slaves for the price of 1, really.
Sure. Well, if druids, if we know anything about them, they're looking for a bargain.
They are.
Yeah.
Is there such a thing as a Jewid? Anyway. And I'm a
Wow.
racist. Okay.
Oh, this is the anti-Semitism episode.
So anyway, Bridget's extreme holiness started early. Mama Broca apparently was not available to feed little baby Bridget. I'm not sure why. There's no
Well, when
word.
you're a slave, you have a hard time setting your own schedule.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But when the druid, obviously impure as he was,
And druids, as you know, mostly work nights.
right? It's true. When he tried to feed her, she apparently puked up because gross. Instead, and this is totally plausible, so shut up. A white cow with red ears showed up, and this is all I read, sustained her. I'm not 100% sure that I know what that means, but I like to imagine Lil Bridge staring that druid down as she sucked the milk directly from the cow's teat.
Sure. That's an intense visual.
Yeah, that sort of solid eye contact.
Devil baby
Yeah, exactly.
under the cow.
Yeah. Anyway, she was a quirky kid. She was so into helping the poor that she regularly gave her mom's stuff away to them and their druid stuff away to them. For instance, one time she gave away the entire store of butter. But no sweat. No sweat. She prayed, and the butter was restored. Hooray!
What a miracle.
I mean, all butter is kind of miraculous, but, miracle butter.
Miracle butter.
Who doesn't love that?
Yeah.
Eventually, she was given or sold back to her father, depending on who you ask, possibly because the druid was being charitied out of house and home.
Yeah.
And
He was down to his last cloak.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have any more butter. I have to get rid of her. And Bridget's antics didn't stop there. You couldn't stop that girl from giving away all of everybody's shit.
Come on, Bridget.
One story says that she ran out of food to give away, so she gave a hungry leper her dad's jeweled sword. Which, I mean...
Where did her dad get a jeweled sword?
Also, thanks, I guess. Like, I need food, but... Thanks for the sword.
Well, you can go knock off a liquor store with a jeweled sword.
Sure.
Teach him, give a man a fish and he'll be hungry tomorrow. Give him a jeweled sword.
And he'll sell that for drugs.
And he's in charge now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the boss. I'm the captain now. Anywho, she founded the church that I told you about, and a bunch of other legendary stuff happened, including St. Patrick, when doing the ritual to make her an abbess, which is a pretty powerful position at the time, accidentally used the words that you use when you ordain a priest.
Uh-oh.
A priest, but she's a lady.
Oh, boy.
But Patrick was like, whatever. She's cool.
So she became a female priest.
Kind of, yeah. I think the words that I read that he definitely said, direct quote for sure, were, "So be it, my son. She is destined for great things." So
it's kind of like, I said the words.
Yeah.
What are we going to do now?
What are you going to do? What am I going to go through the paperwork of canceling it?
Yeah.
No. You have no idea the headache that would cause me. So she also performed an alarming number of pretty amazing miracles.
All butter related?
Most of them butter. Actually, what's funny is that when people in Ireland celebrate, one of the ways that they celebrate Imbolc and St. Bridget's Day is that they do leave out bread and butter.
Oh.
And then shitty little kids with a statue of her go around and collect it and eat it. It's supposed to be for the poor or for her to come and eat. It's kind of like the leaving out the glass of wine for the prophet Elijah.
You know, I got to tell you, I love that shit. I just think that's so great.
Or leaving cookies for Santa or whatever.
Yeah, but I like, leaving bread out for butter out for St. Bridget. Bridget. It gives life texture. That's all I'm saying.
Slippery texture.
Yeah.
At that. So anyway, here are just a few of her non-butter related miracles. Apparently her prayers could still the wind and the rain. That's nice. To keep the butter dry.
So she's Storm from X-Men.
Yes, she is. The butter version. When she was of marital age, a man came to woo her, but she had offered her virginity to God, which...
I'm frightened to know what marital age in Catholic Ireland at the time was.
Right, yes.
She was 4.
Let's call it 8.
Yeah.
So she told the man that he was out of luck with her, but that he should go into the woods behind his house where he would find a beautiful maiden to marry, and her folks would even like him, which apparently totally worked.
Okay.
So that's a good trick to have.
You want to get along with the family.
Some women wear a fake wedding ring to indicate that, if you're a bartender. But how much better is it if you can just be like, go around the back of the bar. There's a lady waiting for you right now.
Okay, these powers seem to be a bit disparate.
Yeah.
She can stop the rain, or she's kind of like Grindr.
Exactly. Yeah, she can conjure
butter
ladies. Speaking of her being wooed, she was apparently annoyingly gorgeous, which she was pissed about. So she prayed to God to make her ugly, at least until she was ordained a nun, which God totally did. Then when she was ordained, she became beautiful again.
When she became a male priest.
Right.
She was the prettiest priest in all of Cork.
Oh, Father Bridget is so hot. So anyway, one time Bridget had a headache and set out to see a doctor. This is the weirdest fucking story. Set out to see a doctor, which apparently were like several days travel. So a pretty bad headache, one would assume.
What's the problem with socialized medicine in Europe? Is the wait times are crazy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the doctor, your headache's gone.
Yeah.
Which is nice, and
It worked.
Yeah, it worked. Socialized medicine works. You got to take the long view. No, along the way, she stayed with a couple who had 2 mute daughters. The daughters then decided to join Bridget in her journey. You know what good company mutes are.
The pilgrimage to the end of the headache.
Right, exactly.
What good company mutes are.
And then apparently Bridget's horse chucked her off, and she hit her head on a rock.
Oh.
Yikes. The daughters went to help her, and when they touched her blood, they could speak.
Ew.
Ta-da. No word on what their first words were. I wonder if, are you okay?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Does your head still hurt?
Yeah, exactly.
Why did I touch your blood?
Right.
It seems like, yeah. Anyway, no word on how hitting her head on a rock affected the headache.
Right.
There are a whole bunch of other miracles, some of which are pretty gruesome, but my favorite, and the reason I think she should be the main patron saint of Ireland and celebrated, the only person who's celebrated, is that at one point, Jesus-like, she turned water into beer.
Hey, yo.
Why is she not in charge over there?
Right?
Yeah.
It just seems like a natural. Who cares about snakes when you've got water into beer?
That's right. I agree with that.
Yeah. What greater miracle is there?
Indeed. When she died, she was given last rites by a guy named Saint Ninid. They're all saints, remember?
Yeah.
Who apparently thought that he had reached peak coolness at that point, and in the world's most impressive version of "I'm never washing this hand again," had the hand that he performed the ceremony with encased in metal so that it would never be defiled.
But still on his hand. Still on his arm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't
Sure.
know. There you go. Went all Jamie Lannister with
Yeah.
it.
Right.
There you go. So she's one of the patron saints. February 1st, which is the day that she's celebrated on and the day that she's purported to have died on,
Yes.
is when the Celt pagans celebrated the beginning of spring, because it's right midway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So it is literally like sort of the day that, if you use those as your markers, it's the day that spring begins.
Well, it's hopeful, isn't it? Celebrating spring at the 1st of February, where
Right.
usually there's a little bit of winter left to shake out. But
Yeah.
It's optimistic. I admire their optimism.
I actually prefer that accounting of the seasons to the way we do it, but that's okay. Anyway, one of the things, so like that's another thing where it's just so clearly the pagan ritual.
Right.
On that day, they make what they call St. Bridget's cross, which does not look like a cross. It's probably closer as a symbol to a swastika, and probably was just a little thing. You make it out of reeds or straw, and it's a little thing that they probably made for the goddess Bridget.
Yeah.
And then just transferred it and called it a cross.
As a little spring symbol.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, they called it a cross. It's one of those moments where I was going to do St. Patrick, but I was reading about her, and I just thought, this is far more interesting.
Yeah.
And very clearly made up from whole cloth. Like, I'm sorry,
Well,
but
stolen from.
Appropriated. Exactly.
Right, yeah, exactly. They took another mythological person, realized that there was a party happening that day every day, and said, here's why we're celebrating that party.
And that people were very attached to it and unlikely to give it up.
Right.
Right.
And so they turned it, they twisted it into their own thing, made up a character to go along with it, didn't bother giving her a different name even.
Yeah.
Just to confuse matters. I think it was actually clever. It kind of blurred the lines a lot, and then nobody knew what the hell they were celebrating.
Well, if our show has shown anything, it's that Christianity had zero original ideas. They just took existing ideas and somehow made them much worse.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. So
knock that off.
There you have it. Blarney and Aaron go bra.
Exactly. And most celebrants are when you hear this, will be nursing hangovers rather than celebrating. But we hope it helps. We hope that her sacred headache can cure yours.
Yes, indeed.
When you touch her blood.
Yes, go do that.
Jesus, what a mess.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and Saint Bridget. Amen.
Let's move on. Fellas.
Yes.
Here we are.
We're all here.
We're all here once again.
We're still here.
And part of the reason we're here in this room is because we can't afford other rooms.
Right.
We're just when we're not recording, we just sit in this room.
It's a hovel.
In the dark.
We are we are a sad and lonely group of
We
men.
cook cans of beans on a hot plate and put on shows for each other.
Yes, indeed.
Little Fosse shows.
But some of the shows that we put on, people actually appreciate, and we put them out into the world, and then they go on and they show their appreciation to us.
If you want to keep us in canned beans,
yeah. So we owe some great gratitude.
Yes.
For this. So we owe gratitude to James, to Andrew, to Charlie, and Robin, and then we've got two saints that need to go. So Doug, I want you to give a saint to Venita.
Venita. Venita, your saint is Saint Pamelicious of the Galapagos Islands.
Oh,
wow.
She is the patron saint of phone sanitizers,
yeah.
flapjacks.
Flapjacks?
Flapjacks.
Yeah.
I love it.
And poster refinishers.
Yeah. You know what? There are moments where I'm having a lovely breakfast meal of flat cakes, and then I look up and I'm like, that poster.
You need some refinishing.
It's not in good shape.
It's surprising the crossover in those things.
Yeah.
Stripped down and redone.
So wow, what a grenade! What a grenade!
What a grenade!
What a grenade!
Venita.
What a grenade
for Venita. That's great. And Uncle Mark, I'm going to make you do a saint for Jim.
Jim, your saint is Saint Espuma of the Klondike.
Right.
Yeah, a very northern saint, as we all know, and Saint Espuma is the patron saint of cobblers,
Sure.
of peach cobblers,
Right.
right, and of turkey shoots.
So if you need a dessert in a shoe,
Yeah,
Then you shoot at a turkey.
yes, exactly. Then that is the person to go to.
congratulations with Saint Espuma there, Jim.
Yeah,
you really scored.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So all of these people, sainted or not, went to howtoheretic.com, and they found the little button that says Patreon on it and clicked that. And then they just decided to give us a little bit of their money because we otherwise will just abandon all of you.
We'll abandon all hope.
And never do the show again. So if you appreciate what we do, if you think it's fun or useful, please feel...
you can also pay us to shut up.
Yeah, well, that costs a lot more.
That would be considerably more, but I'm not saying you
We're
can't
open
do
to it.
It's a Patreon goal.
There's a number.
There is a number.
There is a number.
Just know that there will be other people who will,
Let's get a bidding war going.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Anyway, if you appreciate it, please consider giving. We're definitely more deserving than NPR. So
everything's for sale, people. and if you can't afford to make us shut up, maybe give us 5 stars anywhere you can do that. We kind of live for the stars because, again, huddled together in the cold around a can of baked beans, that's something. That's something.
It ain't nothing.
It ain't nothing. So do what you can. We'll do what we can for you. A lot of love. Stick around.
Moving on. Hey, Uncle Doug.
Uncle Dan.
You ever talk to somebody who was, what's the English word? Dumb?
Most days, yeah.
We you and I, we're not, I feel like I've had my fair share of people, of people who have had bad ideas and clung pretty hard to those bad ideas.
That's a pretty steep claim to make here in Mormon country.
Well, yeah.
Dan, so.
But I do think that that there are those who are more experienced at such things
and far more patient
than we. And Uncle Mark has brought on as someone who can help us.
We have a very special guest today. We have a fellow named Michael Marshall, who is the vice president of the Merseyside Skeptics Society and project director of the Good Thinking Society, which sounds like something John Cleese made up, and co-founder of QED, which is the real cat's meow of skeptical conferences. So I'm told, but the real reason we invited Marsh here today was to explore his burning hatred for humanity as expressed through his most excruciating podcast, Be Reasonable. Michael Marsh, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always nice to be able to talk to people who've made it through at least an episode of Be Reasonable without going too far off the rails to a point where they can no longer functionally speak or put language together.
Well, I'm not saying that's not the case here, but, Marsh, on our show, among the many things we explore, we have a segment called Watch Out for Woo, where we report on various insanities and pseudo-religious scientific oddities, but from a distance. Your show, however, is a horse of a different color entirely.
Yeah.
You talk to the most moonbat practitioners on the spectrum of quackery directly, and somehow in all your shows, I've never heard you shoot yourself. Why is that? Is it because guns are hard to get in the UK?
Yeah, that's trickier.
That is specifically the only reason. Yeah, absolutely. No, I find it really fun to talk to people who are wrong. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been involved in skepticism for about 10 years. And across that 10 years, I spent a lot of time going to like mind, body, spirit festivals and psychics and have my palm read and all this kind of stuff. And I just really love to be in a room where people are explaining bad ideas that they truly believe and then try to figure those out. So yeah, it's really fun for me to have a conversation with somebody who is a strong proponent of a particularly bad idea and then see how we can navigate our way through it kind of and understand as much as possible about them without losing your temper or losing politeness. Yeah, I have a weird thing for it, but I really do enjoy it.
Well, you do. You have the patience of Job on that show. It's quite remarkable.
So tell the listeners about what it is you actually do on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of the show really is all of us will encounter these bad ideas often, and the more you're involved in like atheist, skeptical kind of circles, the more you'll hear about these different ideas. But when you see them from a distance, you don't necessarily get to understand what the full information is about them, what someone who believes this idea actually thinks. So and if you do ever get to talk to someone who actually believes in it, a lot of people, that conversation tends to be, well, you're an idiot, you're wrong, or here's all the reasons that, even if you're going to be more civil about it, it's very much here's the reasons why you're right. Let's have a debate about this. And what you tend to get when you have those conversations is you get the debating side of that conversation. You get the debating side of that idea.
Right.
You don't get the promotional side of that idea.
Right.
So really the idea with Be Reasonable is let's hear what people say to people to convince them that this is a good idea. Let's give these people the space to breathe and the space to expound on their views a little. And I'll push back and I'll be a little firm in places, but I'll let a lot of things pass because I'm not there to offer a counter argument to every point they raise. I'm there to draw out really as much as possible the reasoning behind their ideas, the logic behind their ideas, and then how they deal with things that I consider to be challenges to that logic, things that I think show the idea to be false, how they deal with that rather than how they just bat it back in a debate. So yeah, it's a show where for about an hour you'll listen to someone be wrong about lots of different things, but we'll try and understand and try and hear why they're wrong and see if we can understand what got them to that wrong position. Because I think the next time you're talking to someone who believes it, you'll see that pathway.
It is pretty amazing. Every episode has not just one, but as you say, just a catalog of bad ideas.
Yeah,
that that spread well beyond the scope of where you think something's going to go. Like,
yes.
The bad ideas, they start with the flat Earth or Wicca or whatever, but it goes so much farther than just that. It's never just the thing.
No, I agree, and I think so often when people talk about the flat Earth, and this is obviously something that's kind of become in vogue in the last, I'd say, 4 years, 3 years, something like that. Flat Earth has kind of got a lot more prominent, but I've been looking into it for like 6 years and talking to flat Earth proponents. But when people first encounter the idea that there are people out there who believe the world is flat, first of all, they say, well, they don't really believe that. Every single person who says this is just mucking about. They don't really believe it. And that's because they've never spoken to someone who believes it.
Right.
When they accept that people actually believe it, they'll say, yeah, but this is because they are scientifically ignorant. They're rejecting science, and that's their motivation. That's where they're from. This is a failure of science education. And that's also an ignorant position, because when you actually talk to people who really believe it, you see that it's not just that they think the world is flat, but they think this whole host of other stuff as well. And they didn't get there because they devalue the process of science. They get there because there's some core identity issue for them, that flat Earth, it's a scratch that it's an itch that flat Earth scratches.
Yeah.
And so I think, you don't just get these single ideas in isolation. They do so often come with a raft of other stuff, and so many different ideas. They overlap in their genesis. They're all, I think, for a lot of pseudoscientific beliefs, they're symptoms of the same kind of processes or flawed processes.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions for you, which was, what percentage, it's hard to say exactly, but how many of these people do you think earnestly believe this stuff, and how many of them are just being provocative and weird and trying to freak out everybody in their lives? It sounds like you think they actually believe this stuff.
Do you mean on flat Earth, or just more generally?
Yeah, more generally, in Be Reasonable. Like, I know you have a lot of flat earthers that you've spoken to.
I think most of the people, if not all of the people on Be Reasonable, have probably believed it. There's a couple of kind of caveats I'd put into that, or asterisks I'd put into that. There's a couple of people who are... there's a chap I spoke to who was a supplement salesman who at one point was actually on Interpol's most wanted list and had to sort of flee the country to go abroad.
Holy shit.
And I didn't get a sense that he really believed all the stuff that he was saying. There's another chap who believed he'd seen heaven, had come back.
Right.
And there was enough biographical details. If you looked into, he was a surgeon at one point. If you looked at a lot of the details of how he left several different hospitals under a bit of a cloud, he seemed to have a history of retelling his own story in a way that covered some details and invented others.
Sure.
And I don't know necessarily that he believed it for the best-selling book that he was touting on his tour. But I think the rest of them, I don't think I'd have them on the show if I didn't get a sense that. I don't think I'd have them on the show necessarily if I didn't have a sense that they really believed it. But more to the point, I don't think they'd necessarily come on the show if they didn't believe it.
Right.
Because I'm very upfront about the fact that I'm skeptical of their ideas, and I think the people who are charlatans tend to avoid skeptics like the plague, because what value do they have in exchanging with us? Whereas the people who really believe it, they just want to talk about what they really believe, so they don't come in with as cynical a viewpoint as someone who is a charlatan might. So I think most of the people I speak to actually really do believe it, as best I can tell.
Have you found any commonalities in all of these conversations with what leads these people down? We talked about a catalog of bad ideas, one to the other maybe, or is there a common thread for all of these people to believe these screwball things? Is there something you've kind of witnessed or noticed or...
Yeah, I'd say there are definitely some commonalities. Really is the value they place on personal experience. That seems to be something that just comes time and time again, is that I know because I had this experience. I was going through this time in my life. I tried this thing, and this thing was a revelation to me. And that might be an alternative medicine thing, might be the various people I've had on who profess to have psychic abilities. I think that the majority of those that I've spoken to, again with some caveats, believed that they were psychic. There was one or two people I had on that I was pretty sure knew they were full of shit. And there was one I interviewed in a previous show that I did, and we reused the audio. We reused the interview once we did Be Reasonable, because this was a psychic that I first started speaking to, and she said she was very ethical. She'd never get involved in police cases. She'd never get involved in a missing persons case unless the family really asked her. She wouldn't give them any information they weren't specifically asking for. And then we found years later she was doing a show called the Death Row Psychic, where she would go to the death row and and connect them with the ghosts of the people they murdered.
Oh my God.
Like, this is not ethical at all. And so we re-released that audio, and it just really goes to show that I don't necessarily think she really believed what she was doing. And in that show, she actually did a live psychic reading for me and my co-host. And she said, so do you want me to do a reading for you? I said, I'll do a reading for you now. And I was co-hosting it at the time with Hayley Stevens. And I said, well, do you want to do a reading for me or for Hayley? And she said, well, I'll do it for both of you because I can tell that you're sat next to each other. No, wait, you're sat opposite each other. And I said, well, I'm in the north of England and she's in the south of England, so there's about 400 miles between us.
But she might have been right that you were facing each other.
you don't know her.
Seriously opposite.
True. And just the whole interview, the whole reading nosedived from there, and it's worth sort of digging out. As Vicky Monroe was the name of the psychic there. But I think the people who really believe it, it's all about personal experience in a lot of ways. It's like, I had this experience, and this really showed to me that it's true. A lot of the other commonalities, I think in many ways it's kind of the issue of our age to a degree, is conspiracism, is a tendency to believe a conspiracy and to forward a conspiracy. And I think this is something that really have to figure out how to take the wind out of, how to sort of deflate it at the moment, because I don't know that we're necessarily well equipped for explaining and debunking through a conspiracy theory. And yet we see conspiracy theories now Facebook without someone saying there's a conspiracy about this cures cancer, big pharma suppressing that. Did you know the government actually did 9/11 / fake the moon landing / all these other things? Conspiracy is everywhere. Yeah, and I think more and more I see that be reasonable.
I think we're losing the war to that right now. I think that and I don't know if it's social media or what it is, but it's such a difficult mindset to challenge, because of course in conspiracy theory everything that is proof against the conspiracy is proof for the conspiracy, right? There's just no way to
I think we are losing the war, but I think we are losing the war. But I also think it's because we didn't come armed for this fight. And I sort of think if you look back at the history of kind of skepticism or activism against pseudoscience, for a long time, pseudoscience in large, in broader society was all UFOs and psychics and Bigfoot.
Right.
And so we had in like magicians to debunk psychics.
Right.
And then everything took a turn for the alternative medicine, and magicians just weren't able to cut it when it came to explaining why a particular alternative medicine thing. They upskilled as a community with a load of doctors and people who had medical training, research background. But now pseudoscience has morphed again into this conspiracy world, and I think we're still in a place where we're mainly in that alternative sphere still. We have a huge amount of sort of scientific talent in the skeptical community, but we don't necessarily know what talent, we haven't identified what skill set we need to be able to debunk conspiracism in the same way. And that might be more about philosophy, counter-rhetoric, communication skills, the way to get very quickly to why this is a particularly bad argument and sell that answer back to people, to explain that debunk back to people in a very approachable way, rather than saying, you just made an ad hominem fallacy, so you're wrong. Yeah. People don't know what that means. They're switching off.
Well, there is the other problem, isn't there, of people, these become identity issues. They're not, this isn't just a belief issue. People don't just, they don't just have a bad belief, but it becomes part of who they are. So it's not just I believe in a flat earth, but I am a flat earther. And it becomes this thing of like anyone attacking the bad idea is also in some way attacking the person. And when a person feels attacked, they feel, their impulse is to dig in their heels and defend, rather than hear the counter arguments. So I feel like there's a problem in the skeptical community of thinking, and we see this all the time in American politics as well, but like thinking that the right facts and figures are going to win the argument. And it's a problem of one person's brain is trying to argue with another person's heart. It seems like we're speaking different languages,
or people just not accepting the same objective reality. Obviously,
right.
But I think even the rejection of the same objective reality is because they're seeing it through the lens of their own identity, their own value set. And I think if you can align on values first, and maybe this even comes to how you end up moving out of a religion, a particularly controlling religion, as you guys have got experience of,
right.
In that if you're in a religion and you're told that all atheists are evil across this whole broad spectrum of evil, you're going to be less likely to challenge your own religious beliefs because you don't want to be like one of them.
Right.
But when you find out that actually atheists family, and that's the thing that you value, and they also value truth, and that's the thing that you value, you go, oh, well, I can see that actually my values aren't so out of kilter with atheism, so maybe it's not as scary to question. And I think it's a similar thing when it comes to talking to people about the flat earth. They're not there. You're right that their identity is a flat earth, that their identity comes from other value systems that get them there. And those values might be distrust of big government. huge thing in flat Earth is you can't trust the government always lies. And if you just prove to them the world is flat, you're not dealing with that value first. They'll just say, well, you're just a government. You say you believe what the government's saying, and we know we shouldn't believe what the government's saying because see before, government always lies. So if you can say, look, I agree with you, you shouldn't trust the government. Here's 3 different ways that I think the government's full of shit and should be something that should be treated with. All that said, here's some reasons why I still think that the world is round, even given this thing. And it's the same with anti-corporate stuff. There's a lot of kind of you trust big corporation, and that's why we can't take. That's why you are pushing vaccines. You say, well, actually, here are some ways that I think big pharma really needs to be curtailed and does some pretty evil things. But all that said, here's the data, because you've already said I understand your value. Here's the value that I think you have, and here's me showing that I value that as well. So holding my belief doesn't clash with that value. I can still hold it with that worry as much. And I think that's maybe one of the routes out is to connect with people on a value side and understand the sort of the interpersonal communication, the sort of the soft skills before delivering a fact. You have to warm the ground and soften the ground.
One of the things I wanted to say to you is that, and I think that this goes along with what you've just been saying, is that one of the things that you're excellent at on your show is making people understand that they're not there to be judged, and they're not there to be treated badly. They're there to be listened to, and yes, you will push back. Yeah. But you're not there to be mean or to be a jerk, and I think that goes a long way, and you can hear it in a lot of your guests that there's a trust there, that there's a rapport.
You're not putting them on the defensive, and so it's like you said
Absolutely.
in the beginning. You're allowing them to kind of state their case without just having to throw fists.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's sort of very intentional, really. I think it's very easy for us as skeptics to go and hear a conversation, first of all, with the people that agree with us, or second of all, with people who agree with us seeing the other side, and even having a conversation with someone where they're in that defensive mode. Whereas I want the show to be a place that's kind of a petri dish or a test tube, basically, is I've isolated this particular belief. And I trust my listeners to understand that the reason that this person is talking is because I think they're wrong about something. So when they say a load of stuff and I'm not challenging every point, that doesn't mean that I agree with it or that it's right. It's that I'm making a sort of decision to not challenge that point in order to keep the talk going or to sort of delve somewhere else later. I wouldn't want to do this if I was being broadcast, far and wide to a huge listenership. It's a relatively niche listenership that is self-curating, and that the people who can't take that don't listen at all. But I think because I've got space, I can then a lot more and have this kind of conversation with people who feel relaxed enough to tell me what they think at times.
Yeah, I was listening to your show with a friend at one point who at some point along the way was just like, no, you got to stop him. You got to ask about this question, and you got to ask about that point. That was not true, and literally was not one of the ones who was able to handle the way you conduct your show. But I really appreciate it.
Let's take a second now and talk about some of our favorites anyway, if we can, and of course, my very favorite, because as Doug was saying a minute ago, there's not, most of these people don't believe in just one of these things. At some point, they all kind of curve around the flat Earth and touch on the other side, right? So one of my favorite episodes was a guy named Rodney Clough, who
I knew this one would come up.
who is the hollow Earth proponent, and amazing.
Yeah, I didn't know that's where that conversation would go. And you can tell that because, I've been trying to get Rodney on the show for a good couple of years. And I think the way that I found him was because I saw there was a Flat Earth Society podcast at one point. And the second episode was the Flat Earth Society interviewing a hollow earther, which is a great listen, a genuinely great agree. Even though their worldviews are completely contradictory, they didn't disagree. They just pointed out all the ways that the official story was wrong, and that was about it. So I thought, we'll just talk Hollow Earth. And that's why the first 20 minutes we're talking about, well, how do you know for certain how you think it can't have been a superior mirage when people saw a city in a place where the city was too far away to see? Well, you think that this was a projection out of the center of the Earth? Well, what's the limit on a superior mirage? And tried to talk optics, tried to see how far the center of the Earth will be able to go, and tried to talk through the hypotheticals of that. And we spent about 20 minutes on that. And then the conversation starts going towards the people who live inside the Earth and the sun that's inside the Earth, that's the source of all the heat. And the fact that the center of the Earth is where the Nazis escaped to in U-boats or in spaceships given to them by the people from Venus. And I thought, God, I wasted 20 minutes talking about superior mirages. I could have really got to this bit.
It was awesome. I swear to God, you should start your show by just saying, okay, look, this episode is going to end with you saying something about the Jews. So let's just get that out of the way. And then you can talk about the flat Earth the rest of the time. Because I didn't
used to be that way. I used to talk to dear old ladies about why they think they're psychic, and now it's just like, oh, so you're an anti-Semite, are you? Tick, add that to the list.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
He was amazing. And then, of course, one of your more recent ones, which was really a tough listen, was Jared Taylor. White identity advocate.
That was a very tricky one to do, and I had to weigh up. I spent a lot of time weighing up whether to even do the show.
Yeah,
I didn't hear that one. Who is this?
So this is Jared Taylor, who runs American Renaissance, who describes himself as a race realist, but is very clearly a white supremacist, white nationalist. I think he uses the term white nationalist as a positive.
Yeah.
And he was laying out all the reasons why he thinks that America needs to be, if not fully a white ethno state, then be separated into a white ethno state and everybody who doesn't want to be in a white ethno state. A couple of days after an awful tragedy and a terrorist atrocity in New Zealand, in which the guy puts out a manifesto explaining why he did it, and there were a lot of read across. There were a lot of commonalities between elements of that so-called manifesto and the thing Jared Taylor, reasonable face and reasonable voice of white supremacy, was saying on the show. And that's kind of the reason that I decided to do the show, not knowing that this manifesto is there, but knowing that the people who are out there espousing these views not in a respectable face kind of way, they're using the rhetoric of people like Jared Taylor. Right. As their reasoning. So he is radicalizing people. And when you listen to him, some people would say, well, his tone is reasonable, but some of the things he's saying sound like they might have a kernel of truth to them, of course, until you really examine under any real scrutiny what he's saying. So I think that's the reason I want to do that one, is also to say people would criticize the show for saying you shouldn't give a platform to these. But the reason that I did it is the platform I'm giving them is a platform they share with somebody who, for example, thinks that you don't need to eat or drink to survive. You can live on energy from the air alone. So you can just give up food and water.
Yeah.
Or a platform he thinks that two green-skinned children were beamed from the future to a small cave in Wiltshire in the 15th century. That's the platform you're on. That's the platform these ideas deserve to be on.
Right. Absolutely. I love that grouping. That's a clever way to think about it. One of my favorite episodes that I listened to, not because it was super wacky, was a woman who practiced Wicca. She was a Wicca priestess, and she was kind of semi-notorious because she would, try to cure your computer of its viruses using crystals or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was this amazing moment that you had when you were talking to her, and you said, you said something that just sort of skipped off the surface of the idea that maybe she's taking data that doesn't prove that she actually did something, and letting that prove to her that she did something. And she actually went with you down that road a little bit. And she was like, I haven't actually thought about it. Maybe what I'm doing is just making these people feel better, and that, maybe there's a placebo effect happening. And she literally, like, for just a moment, went down that driveway, and it was this amazing thing where she actually played the skeptic game a little bit. I don't think it convinced her of anything, but what a brilliant moment that was.
That leads me to
I absolutely live for those moments. I really do. And biggest, I'm not saying regret, but heartbreaks, I guess, about the show is I had an interview with a chap who was a 9/11 truther. I put the interview out eventually, but the end of the interview didn't take. And he was a chap from a group called Artists in 9/11 Truth, and throughout the interview we talk about fairly standard 9/11 stuff, but it was really clear as he's talking that what are his values? Well, he was very clearly a pacifist, and that came up so often that he abhorred the war in Iraq, he abhorred the reaction 9/11. And so understandably so, a huge number of innocent people were killed as a result of this, he was saying, and I agree with on that. And so I said to him at the end of the interview that you clearly think that war is that you clearly are a pacifist. Do you think that your view of that war would be different if you believe the official story on 9/11? If 9/11 happened exactly as the government said, how would you feel about the war? And he said, well, I'd probably feel it was a bit more justified that we should be who was out there to do this. And I said, okay, well, do you think that has any bearing on your disbelief that it really happened? Is it easier for you to believe that the government was behind it and therefore the reaction of the government was also evil than to say, well, America did this evil act and went on to do something you consider to be evil, and that's a very hard thing to bear in mind? And he said, I never thought about it that way, but maybe I've got to really think about that. And I was like, yes, and that's the bit that didn't record. I couldn't put that bit out on the show because it didn't record. I was like, oh my God, I've spent so long getting to this point. I knew this feel for the fact that he really did value pacifism. He really was at his core anti-war, and I can, align with those values with him.
Yeah.
But it was just such a shame that I couldn't get that. For some reason, the recording failed, and I had to put the show out without that. That kicker at moments where something shines through. They have got a rapport because they trust where the conversation's going, and they don't feel like they're being attacked. They feel like they've got the space to explore their views. And if you do that, I always say, when you attack someone, they just put up their defenses, and it's like they come up and they just give you the same answer they've given everybody who's ever attacked them before, and then you get nowhere. But if you ask them, could you explain a bit more about that? Could you help me understand this bit? The castle gate comes down and you get to go in and you can wander around the maze of their ideas. And if you do that with and enough kind of gentle nudging, you can get them to take a left turn that they've never taken before, and they're confronted by this wall in the maze that they didn't know was there and don't know how to get past. And that can be a really interesting part of the conversation if you can get there. But it's only if you have this rapport can you even begin to do that.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like a moment of denouement is possible if you if once they've gotten past, and it was the Jews. After that, you can get to a moment of self-reflection, right?
Yeah, and once they've stopped thinking is a shill for the big conspiracy who's just trying to show everyone how gullible I am, or trip me up, or make me a fool, or something, or shout at me. Once they know that that's not what you're trying to do, you can relax into the conversation. And it does mean letting some things pass. So they might say something horrible about Jewish people, and I'll go I'll bite my tongue on that one, because otherwise the show's just going to be another exploration of anti-Semitism.
Right.
But you can take them in unusual directions that I don't know whether it's ever changed anyone's mind that I've spoken to, but I think there are certainly people I've gotten to ask themselves a question they've never asked themselves before.
Sure.
And I don't know how easily they're going to answer those questions.
Well, I mean, the one thing that has become clear from all of your episodes is that you are the Illuminati's most clever agent. It's very...
And I know you probably
absolutely.
You probably have to get to synagogue soon too, so we should probably let you go. But well, I think that's a great place to leave it, right? With a little sting of anti-Semitism.
Yeah. Always a good denouement.
It wouldn't be reasonable without it.
Right. So, Marsh, tell the people where they can find you and all of your good work.
Yeah, well, wherever podcasts live, just look for Be Reasonable. You can find it on the Merseyside Skeptics Society's website, which is merseysideskeptics.org.uk. And my day job is an investigative and an activist skeptic working for a skeptic all about the stuff we've been doing with there at the Good Thinking Society's website, which is goodthinkingsociety.org.
Great.
Excellent. Well, thank you for doing the Lord's work. And anybody who does not have enough head dents in their desk, please go ahead and listen to Be Reasonable and in air quotes, enjoy it. So, Marsh, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, guys. Anytime. It's been a pleasure.
Well, friends, this might actually be it for the end of the show.
We'd love to hear from you. Send an email at howto@howtoheretic.com.
Or if you have a hollow head on a hollow earth, you can leave us a voicemail about it at 90388 How To, which is 903-884-6986. I'm also on Twitter at HowToHeretic.
Yeah, thanks so much to our patrons. We love you.
And thanks to our patron saint, Cody Layton, for editing the show.
And thank you, dear friends, for tuning in.
Bye, friends.
Bye.